What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to everybody's favorite Lime stream with your host, Scott Lalim. It's spelled Lalime. This week I get the pleasure of sitting down with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Will Clarke. We're just waiting on the man to join right now. L in the chat if you guys are feeling good this week. If you guys are feeling great. Here we go. I see you, Will. You just got a request to join here. There we go. Says it's connecting. How's everybody doing, L in the chat? Hey, man.
Yo. How's it going, man?
Good, good. Hey, I apologize about that time zone thing, man.
Oh, no worries. I was like,
so
are you
sorry.
doing this?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like about to hop in the shower. I was like, holy crap, dude! Like, I got.
Sorry, man.
Got dressed.
How do I turn this chat thing off? Because it's really annoying me.
Oh yeah. No idea.
I don't know. Me neither.
It's like right over your face too. It's kind of never been that evident. Usually it's like two of them. Okay.
Yeah,
Well. Anyways, welcome to the Lime stream, man. My name's Scott Lalim. It's spelled Lalime. What we do here is we talk music, we talk a little nonsense, and we answer questions from the friends in the comments. So how I like to start it is just getting a basic background on you, Will, and like how it started for you, and you know where you've come.
Damn. It's like a wide berth question.
Yeah. Just a little background. I know you have a huge background, so.
Started DJing when I was like 13. My first show in a club was when I was like 13. Played. I was like a resident in Ibiza. Learned how to produce when I was like 16. Kind of just went from there, really. Obviously, a lot of people know me in America from Dirty Bird. And now running my own label called All We Have Is Now. And doing that, really. That's kind of a very quick...
Yeah, very quick. Yeah, for sure.
Quick history.
And when you started DJing, was it always house music or what were you?
Yeah, it's always been house. It started with like soulful and like funky kind of vocal, like Frankie Knuckles. Very like defected-y, kind of early defected.
Okay. Yeah.
House, like Chicago house, New York house. And then it kind of got a little tougher. Which is kind of what I'm kind of going into currently now, is like the tougher styles, but with more like song-based stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you said that you started your own label. When did you start doing that? Like, how long has that been a thing so far?
So the first record was in January the 30th of 2020.
Yes.
And it's like it was a year of work before that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Like just putting it all together.
Yeah, just putting it all together, and Ryan, my manager, kind of like from getting the right team to. I didn't want to release a record label if it was just going to be like. We were just going to hope that the records do well. I wanted the right team around the record label to like give a good like platform for the label to kind of do well at straight away.
I feel you.
Obviously the records, I kind of knew the records that I wanted to release purely because it was just, they were records that I knew wouldn't be signed by anybody else. And it was like, that's the sound of what I want the record label to kind of start with and kind of build out, and kind of just set a precedent of what we're doing as the record label kind of starts to build a foundation, really.
Yeah, of course. And you brought up Dirty Bird, and like I know you released a plenty of labels like Trick and all those labels like that. But as of right now, are you just releasing on your label, or are you going to be releasing on other labels as well?
No, so I'm still releasing on another label. So obviously, the beginning of the year, I had a release on my label called Run Run. I then had my second release of the year was on Needed Pain, which is Denson Pika's label. I've got a release coming out on the 9th of April, which is on my label. Then the 6th of May, I've got a release on Filth on Acid. And then I have another release on me. I then have a release on Factory 93.
Oh, nice.
And then another release on mine, then a release on Trick, and then another release on mine. So pretty much every month we've got a release out this year.
Hell yeah. That's staying busy, man.
I wanted to make sure that because of COVID and all that shit, like this year is like, we know that the touring's going to be pretty low, and we're not expecting we don't really, we'll do shows and we'll do the right shows, but we're not just going to do like every show possible.
Yeah.
We want to kind of wait for it to kind of settle down, and so we can plan. Yeah. I don't want to be in a situation where I announce a club show and then it gets cancelled, and then I announce a club show and it gets cancelled. It's not fair for people. I'd rather just be like, yo guys, we're doing a tour, let's fucking go, really.
Let's go. Yeah.
So yeah, we were like, okay, well, let's plan. All of the records that I'm releasing this year were planned already from last year. Like I'd made them last year, and that, like, my record that's coming out on April the 9th next week is a record called Place I Belong. We wrote that end of 2018, beginning of 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
2021. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Just
and there's other records that are probably coming out that were written before that as well. So yeah, man, there definitely is. There's a record called Father coming out that's been made for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably 2018.
For sure. And do you think that like kind of helps like the benefit of when you do release the track, like like taking it, like building that hype up?
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it does really help. It's really interesting time to release music now during COVID, because a lot of the records aren't getting the club hype. So you notice the difference in streams, unless it's like a very commercial record. Stream numbers are just dropped in dance music. I don't care what anyone says. Everyone's like, no, streams are up, and it's like in house, underground house music is down, 100% down.
Yeah.
Unless you have like a record that just pops off, like say like John Summit this year or last year, like blown up, which is great. And there's a few records that do that, but
not everybody's John Summit.
I can guarantee you, if the clubs were open, the John Summit record would have been even bigger, and everyone else's records would have been bigger that did well. So I think it's just the case is our culture isn't built on streaming. The streaming is just a way for artists to kind of earn money and get people to like their music and kind of discover them. It's changed over the years, but our culture is built in the clubs. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, it's true. And it's like 90% of the reaction you get is through live reaction. So, I mean, I feel like that's building the hype itself. And without that, you know, like, you don't really get the same amount of hype. And going back to what you said, the streams are low, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And like, I think unless you're like like, let's say for instance, like the Camel Fat Boys, like I know they're still getting crazy streams, but it's more commercial viable music now, if you know what I mean. They have a huge platform already.
Yeah. For sure.
1 second, I'm just going to put my phone on charge.
No, you're
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And before we dive into what I call the lime times, where we answer some questions in this question box right here, I just want to ask one more question. In your opinion, when do you think it's an appropriate time in an artist's career to start their own label?
I think it depends what your goals are. I had a label years ago, right before I had a career in music. Well, I was working full time in music, but I wasn't touring full time. And it just depends what you want. I think for me, it was like more so a case to show people the music that I actually really want to put out. A lot of record labels, a lot of the music that I would put out wouldn't get signed to other record labels because it doesn't fit in the record label's sound.
For sure.
I'm obviously also lucky that I have a bit of a platform where I've achieved certain things, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I've achieved a certain level of success in this industry. So that makes it easier for me to start a record label, right?
Exactly, yes.
However, there's some record labels that are like uber cool, that just like build a dope community of artists around them, and those labels turn into huge things. And it wasn't started by one DJ. It wasn't started by that, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I think it just depends what you want to get out of it. But at the end of the day, if it's done correctly and consistently, it will always do well. But it's just, I think the issue is a lot of people just want things quickly now. And you can't build a career in a year or 2 years or even 5 years.
Exactly. Like, this is the long haul, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 10 years. That's why some of the biggest record labels have been around for 25 years.
For sure, yeah.
So I think it's just a case of working out what you want. And if you're like not at a point where if you're not getting a look in on getting tracks signed by labels, but you have a cool little following around you and your music is actually good, it's not shit, then start a label with a bunch of you and just like build something cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Like being like, everyone starts from somewhere, if you know what I mean. Like, are you guys in Arizona?
Yes, yeah, I'm in Tucson. Rave Hard's located in Phoenix, so
yeah. Okay, so like having a dope Arizona-based record label that releases dope music. Like, Arizona culturally has not much when it comes to house music. It has, if you know what I mean. It's got no history in house music. Mm-hmm. It's got Shady Park and a few other venues, which are cool, but without sounding awful, like there's nothing cool coming from Arizona music-wise. No one's promoting that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I definitely understand.
And there's a cool little niche there, if you know what I mean. If the right amount of people kind of are willing to push it.
And the house community here is honestly so tight, like, because there's it's such a little niche, like you said. And like what we do is so like, it's like breaking the wave because we're the only ones doing it in a way. You get what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing is, it's just about just keep going. 1 second, man. Right? Cool, thanks. All right. Sorry, man.
No, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think you just have to keep pushing. And once you've built a community so tight in that area, it can move into bigger things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And honestly, yeah, shout out to Shady Park too, because that's like one of the only like house disposals we have in Phoenix that's actually really tight. You know what I mean? We have other ones that are more low key, like holes in the wall, like Barsmith and places like that, but they're just not like house clubs. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's great. It's a great venue.
Yeah.
You're lucky you have the weather.
Yeah, exactly. The weather is amazing on that back patio, man. Let's dive into what I call the lime time. Let's answer some questions from the people in the comments. I just want to let everybody know, if you have a question, don't put it in the comments. Just slap it in this question box down there, so we're not like having to scroll and scroll. Lance Fairchild here wants to know, he's a house producer out of Arizona. He wants to know, as a new producer, is it ever too early to release music?
What's up, Lance? Yeah, it has to be good. And don't send your records to your mates because they're all going to tell you it's good. Like, try and get like somebody that's pretty established or has no biased opinion, because there's so much generic shit out there. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to just be the same producer that everyone else is trying to copy? Like, you got to be your own.
Exactly. A guy here, Lance Fairchild, also wants to know, around how many tracks do you write every month?
Depends. Some I'm writing, like, let's say for instance, last year I wrote about 75 records. But I wouldn't, like, this year is going to be a lot less.
A lot less. Because the streams are just down. You're just like trying to build up the hype.
No, I'm just like produced out. I spent the whole
75 tracks in a year is a lot.
I spent the whole like 2020 writing a shit ton. Mm-hmm. But 2019 was wild. I just was writing all the time. 2020 was like trying to write very good records that I really believed in. Yeah, so it depends, but for me it's not about how many I write, it's just about how many good ones, right? Mm-hmm. You see, definitely. Stella Bossy is in the house. What's going on, Stella?
Lance also wants to know here, how did you and Born Dirty meet?
How did we meet? We met on Instagram. I think one of us slid into each other's DMs. Yeah, we've just been like best mates ever since. Yeah. He's the best, man. Let's answer Stella Bossy's question, which is, what was the idea of Let's Rave?
Oh, okay, yeah. How came your idea for Let's Rave? My bad, I didn't see that in the comments there.
Yeah, so like, honestly, it was like a real me just in the studio writing a record that I was like, everyone's writing ravey records right now. Like, oh, what's up? Nick Monaco is in the house.
Hey, shout out.
And everyone was writing really ravey records, and I was like, okay, I kind of just want to like write one as quickly as I could. Like, it was the last. I actually wrote it the weekend before I played in Shady Park.
Oh, wow.
And I put it on. I literally like just wrote it super quickly, like a couple of hours it took me to write. And the vocal is me just saying, let's rave. So it's just simple. But I wrote it as kind of a joke and was like, didn't expect anything of it. I put a clip of it on my Instagram and Patrick was like, mate, I love this. Can you send it to me? And I sent it to him, and he was playing Crossfest that weekend.
Shout out Cross.
Yeah, big luck to Cross. So he was like, mate, I want to sign it. And then I'd actually written the B-sides already, with Daddy Dino. But yeah, it was kind of a joke record, and it came out. So it was just a bit of fun, really. I never thought that record would ever come out.
Yeah. It's always the best feeling, though, like when it's a joke around and people actually like really fuck with it. Daryl Nato wants to know here, when festivals come back in full swing, which are you excited to be back at again?
There's festivals that I haven't played that I really want to play at. So Glastonbury Festival in the UK. I really want to play Movement in the UK. No, in Detroit.
Yeah, in Detroit.
I'm playing Drum Code in September, which I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, nice.
There's a festival that I'm booked for in September as well. That's not been announced.
Oh,
and
really?
it's a new festival in a city in America, and if it does go ahead, it's going to be unreal. Like, it's going to be dope, and we're doing like an after party as well.
Oh yeah, I'll stay on the lookout for that.
Yeah. So, well, obviously we're just waiting for COVID because it's a brand new festival. They don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the team that's doing it is amazing, and I work with them a lot. So if it does go ahead, that would be great. And then I'm playing Elements in September as well. Festivals are great, but I'm really, really looking forward to playing clubs again.
Yeah, dude. Get back in the clubs.
Just because it's like, I want to be able to like give the people some music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Before COVID happened, I was like making it a thing that I was only going to clubs and like trying to stay away from festivals for a while. Club shows, you know what I mean? Festivals just experience more clubs.
Festivals are cool. They're very different in America to the way they are in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I like both. I like both.
Yeah, I like both too. Just some of them in America get a little much sometimes. I'll be honest about that. Alex Saunders here wants to know, is it healthy to take breaks from production?
It's whatever makes you feel good.
Yes.
If you're on a roll, you're on a roll. Don't worry about it. If you're not on a roll, then yeah, take a break. But sometimes I'll be writing solidly for a week, and then like recently I haven't really written anything for fucking ages. I've written stuff for other people, but not for myself.
Yeah. Mikey here wants to know, I'm just going to do a couple more and then we're going to dive into some last questions that I have for you, Will. But Mikey wants to know.
We can go on for a bit longer. I'll try and I've said 8-ish for my meeting, so
okay, for sure.
Might be a bit late.
For sure.
Cool, go for it.
Mikey Official here wants to know, what got you into cooking? Stuff looks amazing all the time. That's actually one question I have for you myself. I used to be a chef over at a higher end burger joint.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Cool, man. I started cooking years ago when I was a kid with my family, or with my mum mostly. My dad doesn't really cook. And then my friend was talking about this just earlier to me. It was like, where did it kind of become a thing? And then it was like my Instagram was just getting filled up with food stuff. Because like, be lucky enough touring, go to amazing restaurants all around the world, really. And I would just always post pictures of food. And I'm like, probably doesn't, like, branding wise, it probably doesn't look the best. So let me go and start a food page. And then it kind of turned into something like that. And I'm actually working on a cooking show at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have 11 episodes.
That's
cooking show.
Is it gonna be on like TV, or where's it gonna be on?
I'm starting my own YouTube channel.
Oh, nice, very nice, very nice.
So I have a YouTube for Will Clarke, but it's gonna be on its own thing, called Will Makes You Hungry. So we're gonna launch that very soon.
Oh yeah, be on the lookout for that too.
Yeah.
So, quick question though, is like, were you always just into like, did you start with baking or did you just start doing it all? Cause like those croissants go off, man.
But see, I'm like very much like if I want to do something, I'm gonna do it well, but it's gonna take me ages. And I just keep doing it until it's at the point where it's amazing. So like with the croissants, like it took me ages to learn how to do them, and I still haven't perfected them, but I just keep going until I have.
Yeah.
But with like the baking started in lockdown more so because I started baking bread for friends and family. So like I bake loaves of bread every week for all my friends and family, and just deliver it around to their houses and kind of do that. So that's kind of how the baking started.
You're making everybody hungry.
Yeah.
DJ Scotty B here wants to know. Hold on, I lost the question here. Oh, what happens to your unreleased, unfinished tracks? Do you revisit them, or do you use parts for them for other tracks?
A lot of them just gets left, and I just use them as DJ stuff to play. I like to keep my sets. If I'm not playing open to close, I'm just playing sets. I like to keep most of the music I play unreleased or released stuff of myself. So like 85-90% of the tracks are all my tracks that I play when I DJ are like a shorter set. If it's like a 2-hour set, it's all pretty much going to be all my music.
For sure, yeah. Let's see here, we've got a bunch. I'm just trying to like pick a few good ones. What's the longest set that you've ever played?
I think 12 hours.
12 hours?
Yeah.
Where was that? Just on a stream or?
No, I've not done a single stream.
Single stream, okay.
It was in Ibiza. I used to play 12 hours every day.
Wow, yeah.
It was like a part of my job, really, when I was resident out there.
Mm-hmm.
We'd do long days every day.
12 hours.
Yeah, so 12 hours, probably the longest one I've done.
Damn, that's crazy. Let's see. Last one. I'm going to pick one more, and then I got a couple questions for you. Has this downtime changed your sound / style? DJ Scotty B wants to know.
I don't really know. I don't think that's my place to say. I think it's more so everyone else's when the music comes out to kind of hear that. I think what's happened is I've not really been writing massive bangers for the club, just purely because there's no clubs to test them at. Mm. But when I started the record label, I wanted to write records and release records for the record label that people can listen to in a club, but they can also listen to when they're doing the dishes or when they're driving or when they're taking the kids to school or whatever, if you know what I mean, like an everyday life track as well. So I do go in to the studio thinking like, maybe I could do this. And like, obviously when I'm writing just a straight up club record, I just know that that's not going to do that. And only the like proper like listeners of my music will do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's changed my sound. I don't think it has, but my sound's evolving as it goes on.
And I think that's with everybody. As you get older and go on, your sound just keeps evolving and evolving to new.
It has to.
Yeah,
it has to, because otherwise you get boring.
Yeah, exactly, and it's gonna get boring real fast too. Like,
yeah.
I actually saw one more question in here that actually stole my eye. Lance Fairchild wants to know, what is your beard routine? That's another question that I had for you.
Well, it hasn't been cut. I look like a fucking old man right now. I haven't had a haircut because barbers are still closed here. But usually I get it trimmed every 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. Wake up, I wash it, put beard oil in it. Just the usual, really. Trim the mustache, and then I got a cutthroat, so I cutthroat the lines so it kind of keeps looking trim. But yeah, I am, as Rome said, a proper badger at the moment. Well, silver fox.
What branded beard oil do you use, man? If you mind me asking.
I use a couple. So Apothecary 87. I actually use their shaving oil as the beard oil. It's like thicker. Okay. I also use Lalabo's oil, like perfume oil, as an oil as well. And my mum actually made me some that smell amazing. She like makes candles just for fun.
That's crazy.
She made this. It's like this candle the other day. It's like cool. But she made me some and it smelled amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, dude. My aunt makes candles all the time. Like she makes the best smelling candles I've ever smelled.
They're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah. All right. Actually, one more question from the comments. These are getting a little funny now. How many chickens would it take to kill an elephant? This is a question that hasn't been asked on the live stream in probably like 3 seasons.
How many chickens would it? None. Like no chicken. There's not going to be any chickens that could kill an elephant.
You don't think any amount of chicken? Like you don't think if you sent out cockfighting roosters to kill that elephant, you don't think they could get the job done?
No.
Like 100 of them?
No. 100 of them. The elephant would just literally like sweep its trunk and fuck them all up.
Or just suck them up through the trunk?
Yeah, I think it's just never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's an out of ballpark question for sure, but I think if you send some cockfighting roosters out there, they could probably get the job done. They got some peckers.
I need to see some proof on this.
All right, so I'm gonna dive into a question I have for you, man. You do your own podcast. When did that start for you, and like, what made you want to kickstart that?
I started with a radio show years ago. It's called The Barbershop, and the part of The Barbershop was I'd always have guests in picking like 3 records of their favorite records. And
shout out Drew Dabbs, by the way.
What's up, Drew? And then I did that for 4 years, and I just got to the point where I was like, I don't like doing a radio show, but I love talking to people. And before COVID, I bought all the equipment to start a podcast. And me and Gav from Walker and Royce had started a podcast as well. And I love doing it, but with Gav and I, we were just never in this. We had to do it in LA, and I was just I was never in LA enough to be able to do it consistently. So I bought all the equipment, and then luckily, not luckily, but COVID hit, and everyone was at home, so I could get in touch with everyone and do podcasts with everyone. And that's kind of how it snowballed. We've done.
Yeah, I think you interviewed like 40 artists last year.
I've just recorded my 54th episode, which will come out next week.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy it, and I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
Shiba San in the house.
Hey.
We gotta get Shiba San on the podcast as well. Yeah, but I love it. I absolutely love doing the podcast. I do it because I like talking to people, and DJs don't get to talk for long. We're just in front of the decks, and we don't get to talk to each other for a long time unless you're really close mates with them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, let's say me and Sheba, when it's touring, we talk a lot, if you know what I mean. We're good close mates. And in lockdown, obviously, we kind of start doing our own thing. We still talk and text, but it's not as much as we used to. But we don't ever get like time to just like actually have a real good conversation about life and what's going on. Because the podcast, I know it's majoritarily with musicians, but it's not just about music. We're talking about everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always find Shady Parker's in the house as well. Love you guys.
Shout out Shady.
The guys that do some other like house podcasts or like in the house music industry, they're great, but a lot of it is just talking about how people started, and it's more like a interview. And I don't want to interview people. I want to just have a great conversation. Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm trying to veer this one too, man. I'm just trying to veer it into conversations, but it's like it's harder when you know, like you kind of sometimes you kind of get like blank headed or you kind of just like run into a wall. But I love talking to people too. That's why I started the Lime.
I think honestly, the best way for you to, and this is just my advice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you do with this, but the best way to do it is take it off Instagram Live and do it through Zoom,
Sure.
or do it through something else and release it because you can only do an hour on Instagram Live.
They actually changed it. You can go over an hour now.
Can you? Okay. Yeah. But like it's interactive, it's great, but realistically, like to do like a long form podcast, it kind of helps to have it on different platforms as well.
Yeah, of course.
And have subscribers, because right now you're just hoping that people are on their phone at this moment in time and have notifications up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't. Whereas if it's a downloadable podcast or a watchable podcast on YouTube as well, or Spotify or Apple Music or all the other ones, like you can reuse all of the content to then promote the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's been an idea for a while for sure. To
just do it, man. There's nothing stopping you. Just do it.
Yeah, I just gotta do it. Yeah.
And it's not about having loads of big people on. It's not. Sure. Yeah. It's like just do it with your mates.
Oh, that's literally how it started. Like all the people in Arizona, like who wanted a voice. That's why I started it, was to give people a voice. You know what I mean?
You've got to do it, and that's how you build a community.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
How you build a community.
Yeah, it was just like going back to what you're saying. It was DJs usually don't get a lot to talk, especially house DJs. You know, because like other people get on the mic a lot, but house DJs usually don't get a lot of time to talk. So that's the big reason why I even started the live stream, was to give my mates a voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just, who doesn't like having conversations?
Exactly. It's just nice to listen to, you know?
Who doesn't? And who doesn't want to, like, let's say, for instance, like, who have I had on the, let's say LPGOB, who I just had a couple of weeks ago. Like, I'd never spoke to her before. Like, it was a fucking great conversation. Yeah. And now we're good mates.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, and what more could we ask for, if you know what I mean? Whereas if I met her at a festival, it's going to be, hi, nice to meet you, bye. That's it. It's not going to be a proper conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
It's key.
I just got to get out and do it. I'm honestly mad inspired. This is the season finale, so we'll probably start doing that for the next season, honestly. Everyone in the chat.
Dude, I'll come on with you, man. I'll come and do a podcast with you.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you. Hell yeah. That'll be tight. Let's, how much longer do you really have?
Just keep going. It's fine.
Okay, for sure. Let's talk about, let's see. Let's talk about your newest release. Is it Feel the Power that just came out? Yeah. How long did you spend on that track, and what was the inspiration behind it?
That was like at the beginning of lockdown. I wrote it. The vocals are me. And it's like, says, open your mind and feel the power. I wrote that probably April time.
Yeah.
I just woke up one day. I remember it was super sunny outside, and I was like, I just want to make a proper like club record. The B-side Mondays I wrote at the same time as when I wrote Let's Rave. It was that same week. It's just a really fucking hard record, and I might have even written that before. It was just like really hard, and just I wanted to like make something banging, really. Yeah, for sure. And at what time did you really understand that it was like done, like it was a banger? I wrote it in a day.
In a day?
I didn't look back at it.
Wow.
When I'm writing club records, like just purely club records, I write really quickly. I want to, unless it's like a song where it has like more structure and like I want to get this production really tight and really sounding great. Like these records are just like techno records, and this is my opinion, and I could be wrong, so I don't want to offend anyone, but it's just about a vibe, capturing a vibe for a dance floor. Yeah. And I don't think that should take a long time.
I understand that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of house music is already like a derivative of itself, or a repeated version of itself in a lot of ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just about, at the end of the day, what we want to do is you want to create tension and have a great record. And for me, when I write, I want to create that moment where it's like you're giving people a moment to remember. And there's certain ways to do that. But realistically, a great kick and bass and a great little hook. I know I'm making it sound simple, but when writing club music, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
There's just no need to overthink it. And I think what happens, a lot of people overthink stuff and kind of add more and add more and add more and add more, and it doesn't.
It's just oversaturated.
Yeah, it just doesn't allow the record to breathe or like do anything. Like yeah. I'm working with an artist right now and kind of like helping develop them with production and writing records for them, but also they're writing records, and I'm kind of like back and forth and going to studio sessions and stuff. And what this person does or did, or still does, was just, like, have an amazing idea, but then tries to add too much afterwards because the record might feel like it's not got enough. But if it's a club record, a massive bass and kick that's really well done will get the club moving better than any record in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
oh my bad, go.
No, so that's my outtake on writing a good club record. But yeah. I'm not a pro, and I'd love to be taught different ways. I'd love to go in the studio with a lot of people and learn the ways they do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and do you think like it starts becoming oversaturated because people just spend too much time over listening to it?
I think it becomes super saturated, the amount of records that are getting released, because there's not enough people saying this record is shit.
Oh, I feel you. Yeah.
Or this record shouldn't be released.
Yeah, just not being honest.
Like, I personally feel like a lot of it's like techno at the moment. Techno at the moment is what tech house was going through at that time, where everyone's just fucking writing the same techno record, and it's just like, all right, dude, I get it. You can do like a big. Oh my, this fucking thing is so annoying. I can get it. You can put a good kick drum on. I get that. You can write a record with a great kick drum, but that's not what it's about. You can have a great kick drum, but you have to have great elements and everything else. And there's just a lot of average music out there that kind of just. I think that the music industry now or the house and techno industry is based on who you are as a person and what you represent, rather than how good your music is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and do you master your own tracks, or do you send that out to mastering companies?
No, I use AM/PM mastering pretty much for every record now.
Yeah, and would you recommend like artists like up and comers to send their tracks off to mastering companies, or?
Yeah, don't ever master unless you're a mastering engineer.
Yeah,
and you're great at mastering. don't master them yourselves. What's the point?
Yeah.
Like, it's like most people don't cook, so you have to get good at something before. And I'd rather employ somebody that's better at a skill than I am, because first of all, they're going to get a better product. They're going to create a better product out of it. And second of all, it gives me more time to make music. And yeah, like Lance has said in here, like I master my stuff for clubs, like so I can play it. But is it mastering? It's a bit of multi-compression, a bit of compression, a bit of EQ, and some limiting. Like it's not really rocket science. And I don't have the right like studio for mastering. I don't have the right speakers for mastering. And my ear's not that good for mastering. I know a good mix and I know when it sounds great. But when it's your own record, you've heard it so many times, it's actually really hard to get it until somebody else gets it. Sending it to somebody else for new ears, like Andy at AMPM, I will send him the record before he masters it, and I'll be like, what's your thoughts on the mix? Like, what do you think we need to do? And he'll send me notes, and he'll be like, I've just put another record in for him to master, and he's like, you really need to like compress the vocals hard. And I was like, I knew there was an issue with the vocals in the mix, but I couldn't put my finger on what to do. Yeah. So you just have to get people that are better at something than you. That's how you get good art. That's how the best music is written in this world. That's another thing in this industry that really annoys me, is that everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are so hung up on writing their own music because people say that you have to write your own music. Like Beyonce doesn't write her own music, but she's a fucking great singer. Exactly, yeah. Like 7 or 8 people write one song for her. Like the Beatles there's 5 of them. They have producers, they have engineers. They all wrote the records together between 5 people. Why does one artist, like one DJ, house DJ, techno DJ, you don't have to do everything yourself. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to, because you're not going to be that good. And that's just like the harsh truth. It's all about building together too. Like, but I think the issue is that there's a stigma that you have to. And I know, like, it's really sad because you see fans give people shit online, especially like women. It's like a thing where like, oh, well, she didn't write her own music. I'm like, and what? She's fucking doing better than you, so deal with it. Yeah. And she's right. They're writing great music. It's just like, it's always the people with least who have the most opinions about the people who are doing most. You know what I mean? But also some of the biggest techno artists, some of the biggest artists in the world that everyone thinks writes their own music. They don't. There's a few record labels that I know have huge artists, and I know who writes their music. And you can't. It annoys me that those artists won't give that writer credit. Yeah. And won't say, I work with this producer to help me write my music. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I know like a bunch of like my roommate Lance, like a lot of people I work with, they get mentored through a lot of just DJs and producers. You know what I mean? Because like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, you know. And it's so Frank Terry said ghost producers are everywhere. Ghost producing and producing for somebody else is 2 different things. Ghost producing is somebody buying a record. I didn't give a fuck about it, whatever. But that's not being an artist. That's just trying that's just trying to be a business, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. If that's what you want, but don't claim you made the record. Don't claim you look after.
You worked on it with that person is different. You know what I mean?
But however, there's also ghost producing services that you buy the record and you own everything. You own everything. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to give publishing. You don't have to give writing points. You don't have to do all of that.
Frank Terry did say that above here. He said, maybe the ghost that doesn't want the credit. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good wrap on that conversation. If you want, we can dive into some questions that are in the question box.
Yeah, man, go for it. Yeah. I've got like 10 minutes.
All right, 10 minutes. Heard that. Drew Dabs here wants to know, he's a minimal house producer out of San Diego. How do you make your beard thicker? I think you talked about this earlier, but you can go ahead and just like fill them in.
You just got to grow it, man. Just keep growing it until it looks really shit. And then keep growing it past the point it looks really shit. And then you'll have to get a good barber to like gently trim it and just trim it like tiny amounts. You're going to look like a homeless man for a very long time. But you have to just keep growing it. And some people just can't get a thick beard. So if that's you, I'm sorry.
This flow state wants to know, how important do you think building a brand is to success as a modern producer?
So it's really weird. Like the word brand kind of cringes me out, but it's true. Like we're all brands at the end of the day. So I would say building a brand is just like building a following. Mm-hmm. You are, apart from you are the brand, not you.
Yeah. You are. Yeah.
But it's like, of course you have to build a following. Otherwise you're going to be fucking pissing into the wind. That's not good. So
pissing in the wind is never fun.
Yeah. So yeah, you are the brand as the artist. Whether you're talking about building a business outside of you, or building a record label as a brand, like it's up to you. You've just got to do what you do, but you have to, at the end of the day, you have to add value to people's lives, no matter what. And you can't get mad if you're not big or you're not being successful, because in this industry, there's a lot of luck involved, but there's also a lot of hard work. And there's that saying that you create your own luck, which I agree with to a certain extent, but it's just mostly hard work. And not just the hard work doing the same shit. It's hard work doing a lot of shit and seeing what works. I've heard people deleting all their social media, producing music and expecting their music to get big without having the socials. Sorry, I saw that because it's kind of with it. Like, socials aren't the be all and end all of having a career. It's just gonna happen a lot quicker. Unless
it's a big help for sure, honestly. Like that's something Lance and I talk about all the time. Unless
your music is so good and you're so well respected in a certain scene, like, but also everything is value for the consumer, right? So let's use, I don't know, if you're not writing good music, you're annoying as fuck on social media.
It's true.
You're not adding any value to anyone. Whereas if you're great producer, your content's really interesting and you talk back to people and you give the fans, I don't like using the word fans, but you give your following, like you respond to them all. You give back to the community. You remember people, if you know what I mean. You do, like, one of my first tours, I did, like, I took, like, people that were coming to the show for, like, a burger at the beginning before, and, like, I would take a load of people for dinner, and those people will always be followers for me, if you know what I mean. They'll always like what I do because of that one experience. Like, you have to kind of think a little bit out of the box on what can you do that other people aren't doing that isn't, like, mind-blowing. It's not. It's just being kind.
It's just being nice. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And if you add being nice to and honest. Honesty is key. It's not about jumping bandwagons. It's not about doing what's hot and what's happening. It's about being true to yourself and giving back as much as you can, but also making fucking great music.
Yeah. The music has to back what you're doing 100%.
The music has to be better than everything.
Yeah.
The music, what you do on top of the music is what builds you as a person.
Is what backs
as a brand. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got some more questions. What is the best party? Is the best party in the U.S. you have played?
That's such a
broad question. Yeah.
It's such a generic question. And it changes from time to time. My most recent show, my last favorite show was, I played Red Room in New York. It was amazing. It was like Red Room is like 600 to 800 people, like barely any lights, fully smoke room. You can't see anyone. It's just like a proper club. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely. That sounds nice. Alaska here. He's a DJ out of Phoenix. DJ producer out of Phoenix. He wants to know, this is a really good question. Is there still space for DJing as an art form, or is production the only way out?
I guess if the question is, can you still become a famous DJ for being a DJ? Jeremiah, what's up, dude? You just came in with a bomb question as well. Yes, you still can be a DJ without producing. You have to do something else though. There's very few DJs that are successful but don't release music. Very, 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 very few. Probably only 4 or 5 that are like very successful. Where DJing is the first thing and still the last thing, and they don't release music. It's tough. But you'd have to build like a dope record label or have an amazing scene around you.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's kind of what ties in with what we were talking about earlier, like when ghost producing comes into play too. You know what I mean? A lot of DJs make it to a certain level, like kind of level out, and they're like, okay, I need to start releasing music, and then they can't do it, and then they start, purchasing music off of producers.
Well, I think a lot of proper artists, they know what they want to write, but they don't know how to write it. So they go in with a producer, and get somebody to write the ideas. You're still being a producer. You're just not doing the engineering bit. And I think that's where people get caught up in it. Like, you're still a producer. Like,
blueprints.
Yeah, like Mark Ronson is a producer of records. It doesn't mean he's writing the records. It doesn't mean he's playing on the records every time. He might do sometimes, but it doesn't mean he's Rick Rubin, classic example. He's one of the greatest producers in the world, right? He's a vibe maker. He just sits in the back of a studio.
Yeah.
He doesn't get on the instruments and things like that. He's just a vibe maker. He's still one of the most successful record producers ever in our lifetime.
Yeah, that is true. Chad here. Oh wait, yeah, Chad here wants to know what shoes are you wearing, Will? We're gonna end it on that question because I know you should do it in 10 minutes. He's rocking the Asics.
They're
you
old.
running Asics too?
No, these are old. My best mate collects sneaks, and they didn't fit him, and he gave them to me years ago, and they're just amazing and comfortable. They look very shit right now, and they're literally probably about 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah.
And also, I want to go back to your friend's question. I think it says first rave back. What's the first tune you playing?
Depends if I'm doing open to close, but I've just made a pretty good intro record, and it's like pretty intense, and I can't wait for people to hear it. So yeah, love it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, what I usually like to do at the end of the stream is just let you promote anything that you have coming out that you would like to promote.
Cool.
And I just want to give you a huge thanks again for hopping on. This was a very good conversation. That hour felt like 10 minutes. It usually does. But thanks, man. Thanks again.
No, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I've got a new record coming out next week on All We Have Is Now called Place I Belong, which is a track between myself and Ollie Norton. Go check out and subscribe to my podcast. I'd absolutely love it if you could. If you're not following me on Spotify, go follow me. Check out my Spotify playlist, which is called Will Clarke's Record Box.
It's updated every Monday, right?
Every Monday. Yeah. And big love. Keep safe out there.
Big love. L's in the chat for Will, guys. Let's get those L's going. Thanks again, man. This was the season finale of the Lime stream, and I'm just going to end it right here and say Lime out. Thanks, everybody.
Big love, dude.
Big love. Thank you again.